I want to look at some board games and see how similar they are to Monopoly. I picked 4 finance style board games and they are Triopoly, Rat Race, The Bottom Line and Cashflow. Now Monopoly's been around for nearly 100 years, so you'd expect some of the elements of it to come up in other games. So let's have a look. The first game's Triopoly, and this is so similar to Monopoly it's unbelievable. The board has 2 tracks that you go around, and if there's lots of players playing, there's even a third one that you put in the middle there. Like Monopoly, you have coloured sets, and this time it's cities, and if you own only one of them you can develop it to a shopping centre to get more rent in. Or if you own the full set, you then develop to tourist attractions and even TV and radio stations to get higher rents. These rents shown on the title deed cards go up obviously as you get more and more items developed on each property. In the middle of each side are trucking companies, shipping companies and airlines that act exactly the same as the stations in Monopoly, where if you own more than one you get more rent accordingly. Stock market cards are like the chance and community chest cards, and you either lose money or you win money, and the travel cards just move you from one property to another. Go is replaced by payday on each level, and rent a car is a bit like how the jail works. So Triopoly is very similar to Monopoly, and although it has this extra third layer, I find it a bit diluted. In other words, it takes you ages to get a set of properties, and although it appears more complicated, it isn't really. Next is Rat Race, and here you're allocated a colour and you own businesses which are that colour, and you get rent when people land on you. So that's a sort of similar thing in Monopoly. The board is laid out with 3 tracks. High society is where everything is very expensive and you get lots of money and lose lots of money quickly. Middle class, slightly less so. And graduation day is the track where everything is really very cheap. And like chance and community chess, there are squares where you lose money, divorce, or hopefully get some money, lottery. If you land on stock exchange, you place a bet and you can either lose all your bet or get 10 times your bet back. And if you land on racetrack, similar sort of thing. This time everybody can play, and if you place your bet you can win up to 40 times dependent on how you throw the dice. The winner is the first person to get to a certain amount of money. The only real similarity to Monopoly is buying businesses and getting rent from them, and the chance and community chess squares where you lose or gain cash. Now, The Bottom Line was one of a series of finance games by Trevor Pepperell in the 80s, and it's quite a rare game, but if we look at the board we can see again similarities to Monopoly. This time the board has a road track and numbered squares which relate to properties or businesses that you can buy. Again, you get rent for each one you own, and the more you own the more rent you get. So there's 5 stores. There's supermarkets, hotels and residential properties. When you buy your property, you can put your little token on to show that it's yours. If you land on these orange squares, you can buy gold, and if you land on the yellow squares, you can pick up options cards which allow you to force another player to sell property to you or their gold. If you get a bit low on cash, you can take a debt card and raise money, but you have to pay it back before you win the game. And you win the game by having no debts and having 5 million to buy the bank. So in this game, you don't need to make everybody else bankrupt. You just need to raise a certain amount of money, so it's slightly more ethical than Monopoly. So this game introduces the concept of buying and selling gold as well as buying and selling properties, which is an extra prong above Monopoly. And finally, my favourite game, Cashflow, which I featured in a lot of other videos. Here you go around a track called the Rat Race, which funnily enough is the name of one of the other games, and if you land on the green wedge you pick up a card and you can either buy property, businesses or stock, so you can invest in the stock market. I've always said that Cashflow is a bit like Monopoly on steroids, so unlike Monopoly's single buying and selling property idea, it also has the extra buying and selling businesses which we've seen in the other games, and also buying stocks and shares and even gold. The market cards allow you to buy land, gold and all sorts of other things, and the doodad cards are like sort of forfeits. So you can see how some games are very similar to Monopoly and incorporate most of the ideas, to some which just incorporate perhaps a couple.